Welcome to Around the Board, a show where four board game enthusiasts discuss board game topics and news. Today's show will begin with us taking a look at A-Symmetrical Powers, after which we finally convince Daniel to get his butt on the hot seat. Then, another great game debate, this time about Sidereal Confluence. Or is it Sidereal? Or is it Cider Eel? We'll discuss that and more. And to round things out, we'll talk about the age-old question, does length matter? Now, here are your hosts, Daniel Connors, John Theismann, Chris Thomason, and your boy, Andy Barnett. Join us now as we go around the board.
Hey guys, so last week we talked about meeples and miniatures, and I got a lot of blowback for it. So I wanted to put my mouth where the money was, and I went ahead and set up my standees for your viewing pleasure. So you can see how glorious they are here in my background.
Chris will say they're glorious from that angle.
But that's the only angle that matters, you joker.
What kind of blowback did you get?
Oh, well, I think Hansa found one comment about it, but most people did not agree with me. Let's just put it that way.
I think someone decided I was now their favorite square. They gave up on you. So
yeah, I burned a lot of bridges that day.
Yep.
That's all right.
I'm here to rebuild.
Renew.
This is my rebuilding phase.
It's a circle of trust here.
Hey, I also wanted to ask you guys, did you buy any games recently?
I have.
I did. I got this bad boy right here.
Oh, that's right.
Ahoy!
Ahoy,
yeah,
matey.
So not to be confused with Arcs or Oath or Root. This is another 4-letter game from Leader Games.
Yes.
But it's
all about cookies, right?
It's actually an Asymmetric Pirates. Oh, no, that's Chip Ahoy.
Chips Ahoy. I'm sorry.
Ahoy, matey.
I'm glad you caught that.
It
almost went right over everybody's head.
It almost did.
No, I caught it. I just let it go.
Almost went over Daniel's head.
No. It didn't.
It literally is. It literally is Asymmetrical Pirates. Is that really what it is?
It is. Yeah, exactly. You can be shark people. You can be rat people. Not rat people. Rats don't go on pirate ships. That's just.
I don't
silly.
feel like there probably aren't very many symmetrical pirates because they say symmetry is the key to beauty.
That's true. You don't see them with two peg legs. They usually have the one.
Or the black
one
spots.
eye patch, one peg leg. One hook. Yeah.
Usually a parrot on one shoulder only.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. They're very asymmetrical.
They are. No, I haven't bought anything recently, Daniel, but I did get into my shelf of shame a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Oh, let's hear it.
I got, and these weren't games that were they weren't unopened. They were opened, but I just hadn't played them yet.
That's a shock.
And honestly, they kind of failed the test miserably, most of them. So I played, Russian Roulette World Championship or something like that.
Oh, that had winner written all over it.
Sounds like you play it. You hope you get to play it again.
Yeah, no, not so much. It's for sale.
Okay.
It was fine. It was kind of like Bang, but not as good. And I don't know. And then let's see. I also got Saboteur to the table, which is an older game, and some people like it, but boy, it was kind of a miss for me. I just didn't think that much of it.
Yeah, it's my dad and stepmom's favorite game. Actually, they play it all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm playing it. Am I playing it wrong? Is there supposed to be a lot of table talk?
I don't know. It's in that Munchkin category of games. It's fine. Play it if
you're trying to figure out who the saboteur is, so there's a little bit.
Yeah. It was a miss.
With you, I would imagine there's a lot of table talk. I
tried. It just depends on the group. The group wasn't into it.
I gotcha.
That happens.
But anyway, so yeah.
Is that all you played?
I played a game. Actually, this isn't a Shelf of Shame game, but it's a game I hadn't played in a long time. I played Roll Through the Ages, which did not hold up for me. It's from 2008, and I used to think it was an okay game. It was kind of this time too. A lot of downtime between turns that just was boring.
So we can call this segment games that you played, so the viewers don't have to.
That's right. Make a list. Keep it. Check it twice.
All right. Well, that's enough of what we've done this week. I think the audience is here for a different reason.
They might be.
Oh, they are. They are. Well, by all means, let's.
It's time to play the game.
Play the game.
Time to play the game.
Let's remember, everyone, let us know in the comments what you played.
Oh, yes. That's a great idea.
I don't really care.
It's all about debating different topics within tabletop gaming in 4 unique segments, each hosted by one of us. A behind-the-scenes judge named Randy will award points at the end of the show. Whomever has the most points will be crowned the king of everything that doesn't matter, sitting on their soap throne. Soap throne?
Soap throne.
That's what it says. Randy wrote the script. Soap throne.
Yeah, let's say
like
soap throne. That's fantastic.
I would like a throne made of soap. Anyway, they get to sit on that
sure
and
would,
talk about
Ron?
whatever they want. So, yeah, soap throne.
Now I want to win.
Yeah, well, good luck to you.
Throne.
Round 1. Fight!
All right, the first segment is going to be hosted by yours truly. We're going to talk about this interesting topic. It's asymmetrical player powers in games. And my question for you is, are they inherently good, bad, or does it just depend? There's plenty of examples of games that have this. Games like Root, Cosmic Encounters, Gloomhaven, Mechs vs. Minions, Ahoy, apparently. So I went through my top 50 games to see how many of them had variable or asymmetrical player powers. And guess how many made that list? Do you guys want to take a guess at all? Anybody?
I'm going to say 0.
I'm going to go with 7.
7's closer than 0.
Really?
Daniel?
2, 3.
I think Chris is going to get the winner, although technically if we were playing by the Price is Right rules, he would have been over. But it was 5 out of 50.
Daniel gets the award for worst math skills.
Which I believe is...
Why
he
is
does.
that?
Which I believe is
If
10%.
7 was closer than 0. Why would you guess 2?
Without going over.
Yeah, see, he was trying by the play
He
by
was
the Price is Right
playing
rules.
right.
I respect that. Bob Barker taught him well. So yeah, no, out of those games, out of my top 50, there were like a few that made it. It was like Terraforming Mars, which you start with a different corporation, so you're slightly different. Although that's kind of mitigated because you get some choice and there's some drafting options. I had Res Arcana down there, Dune Imperium, Stockpile, but honestly, I don't like playing Stockpile with the variable powers anyway, so that doesn't really count. And another little game called Age of Civilization, a Civ game that you start with a different civilization. But by and large, my feeling, I'm just going to get to it on player powers, is I don't tend to like asymmetrical player powers. I like it to be symmetrical. It's a beautiful thing, as we talked about earlier. So to be perfectly honest, most of my games tend to lean towards the abstract a little bit. And by that, I don't mean themeless. I just mean most things, if not all things, are equal at the outset of the game. So most Euro worker placement games are like this. I mean, I guess you could argue that there's some advantage to turn order, but usually that's balanced out by if you're going later in the turn order to start, you're going to get more resources or money or something. But by and large, it's an even playing field, and you kind of build your engine the way you want to go, and I like that. The classic example of an abstract game is something like chess. It's less about chance, it's more about strategy. There's a reason I'm not a huge fan of things like casinos, because other than the fact that they are designed to rob you of all your money, they are games of chance. And I'm not a big games of chance fan, so I want as little chance as possible in my games by and large. And when you bring in asymmetrical powers, you're usually invoking what I think is a little bit more a chance, if that makes sense. So anyway, well, sorry, I guess my time's over. Daniel, what about you?
All right. Well, asymmetric powers kind of comes with the category of games I enjoy, which are kind of that Ameritrash style games, kind of story driven games. But honestly, if you put any kind of deep strategy into a game, I prefer not to do asymmetric powers. There's always this idea that with asymmetric powers, there's some level of imbalance. Like that's not something like and it's going to linger. Like there's nothing quite unsatisfying as thinking that you won a game because you had the best faction or because your faction was better than the others. And I think well play tested games, that's really not the case. I think there's an easier strategy as opposed to a broken strategy, but that's a really hard connotation to get over. And if your opponents are looking at you going, yeah, well, that one's broken. That's the one. It just takes the fun away. You just it's not, the victory is not as enjoyable. It's actually one of the reasons Scythe was kind of a miss for me, because the whole time I'm sitting there trying to understand what everybody does and did their faction just play better. But now on the flip side of that, Root is one of my favorite games and it's completely asymmetric, but that's fun because that is how do you adapt to, I know this person who I'm actively opposing runs this way. So how do I overcome that? And when I have more direct control over the outcome of a competition, I feel like asymmetric is okay because then it is a test of wits. But if it's more of like a Euro game, like a Scythe, like to me, I just felt like it misses and it takes away from the victory of it. So in the end, asymmetric is okay in the right setting. So, but John, what about you?
Well, thank you. Going to throw it to me there. Well, it's funny you'd mentioned two of the games I was going to bring up. I was going to bring three games that I enjoy that all do asymmetric powers in a different way. And we'll start with Root that you'd mentioned. Root, if I had never played Root, it's kind of like how I feel when I play golf. If I could go back, I would never play golf because of all the money it's cost me, all the time I've wasted trying to be good at golf. Root, I enjoy the game. I love the game. I refuse to play anything but the area of the COVID because Corvid, my bad. I call them the COVID.
Did you call
Right
it the
the first
COVID?
time.
Yes, they're the Corvid, but I always call them the COVID. But because I want to know what my race does, intuitively without having to worry about it. The bad thing about Root is it's so asymmetric that you have no idea if anybody else is playing correctly, no matter what they do. I mean, I have no idea what you're doing over there. All of a sudden you got 5 points. You tell me that's right. I can't challenge you. I don't know how to play. So it's a fun game, but that's to me, the way the asymmetric powers work in that they're too randomly different to even strategize half the time. Scythe that you just mentioned, I love how you can you start out symmetric, you unlock asymmetric for the most part, you unlock asymmetric abilities, which sounds cool and it's in the way it's done. But then if you're playing a lot of players, people are unlocking things all the time and you can't keep track of it. Oh, you can do that now. Oh, now you can do that. Oh, when I fight, you have to do this now. I didn't catch that 3 turns ago when you built that mech. And so I like both those games. They both do it differently. I actually probably prefer Root because at least from the get-go, everybody's doing it the same way. But then the one that, in my opinion, games like Pioneer Days do it perfectly. Here's the rules of the game. Here's the rules for everybody. Guess what? But you're going to start with this and you have this liability. You start with more of this, but you have to carry this, or you have a smaller wagon, but you can do this. And boom, everybody's got their asymmetric powers and what they start with at the beginning, and you go with it. You can either lean into your powers, or you can find another way to go back. But as the game plays, we all play the same. It's just how you start, what you can do. So to me, I love asymmetric powers. Not to say I don't like them, but they can be handled better in some games. I still like those games, but I wish they were a little easier to get your hands on sometimes.
Yeah,
So
I
by and
really
large-
I like that you brought up the whole with Scythe gradually unlocking, because that led to so many issues, especially when you're teaching the game, because you're trying to tell them like, hey, you have this power, and they're like, oh cool, and then halfway through the game you're like, oh wait, you don't have that power, I'm sorry,
You could have been doing this instead, and all those things you did do, you weren't allowed to do. Yes.
yeah
And that's my major problem. I understand they try and do their best to balance them, but I want everything to be available to everyone. So a great example of this, actually, this is a point of contention, and I know, Chris, I'm sorry, we'll get to you in just a second. I just want to finish this one little point. I promise I'll hurry. You guys have both played Agricola and Caverna, correct?
yes
So one of the things that they fixed in Caverna that they had in Agricola is they had different cards with different powers, and it was asymmetric, essentially, right? I mean, anybody could get those cards, but it was dealt out at random or drafted, so there was some asymmetric powers. At Caverna, all the occupation cards and stuff, they're on the board, so anybody can rush to get whatever they want, which I like that better. I like that. I think that's more fair.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So Chris, what do you think, man?
Yeah, no, I agree that I've not actually played Caverna. I've wanted to just try because I just despise Agricola, but that is a huge fix to the problem of Agricola, but it still has other problems, but that's for a different time. So I'm coming in with the red hot, rock solid hot take of it depends. Like, there are certain genres that I think it's essential, like a 4X type game, or we're going to talk about Sidereal Confluence. Like, that's kind of part of it. Like in those situations, I feel it's very important, and that is actually like gives the game structure, if that makes sense. Because otherwise, if you're playing dudes on a map 4X and everyone's the exact same, then it just feels like it's gonna end randomly, I guess best to describe, because there's no strength, there's no pros and cons, there's no this and that, there's all that stuff. So I feel like it's almost essential in those. But then the question is, how impactful is the player powers when it's part of the game, it's not 4X, it's like a normal Euro, how impactful is it out of the box? And if it's really impactful, it's a problem. If it's small things like, for example, you could even say that player powers in Zulkin, the little tiles you get to determine your starting things, like that, you could almost say that's a player power, right? It's a super small one, but it's a player power. It does change how everyone starts and goes from there. In my opinion, as a whole, though, the best player powers, and this is something I don't know why the community's not got behind a long time ago, is send the game out, ship it out, let everyone figure out how to play the base game perfectly, and then figure out a way to give variable player powers to everyone as an expansion. Because when you have to know in variable player powers in a Euro out of the box causes a lot of problems with explaining and all those things. But if everyone can learn the game together normally and then you throw it on top, that's where it can really shine. Again, I don't know why it's not been done, except for mostly in that 4X kind of genre. But I mean, I think that's a fix, and I think it can be great and add a lot of long-term value to games, but that's just not the way they're doing it for some reason.
Chris, that would require people to play the same game multiple times. So what do you
That's a great point. I forgot, John. I apologize. I'm a heretic.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Stick with the cult of the new, baby.
Cult of the New right here is Lost Arnak. They actually did that. The expansion introduces player powers.
I'd prefer the game being good by itself. That's
whatever.
It is a great game, just the base game. I haven't played the expansion. The base game's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I like that perspective, Chris, of the expansion. It really is probably one of the best ways to do it, especially with the Euro game. But I feel like, did we all agree that like asymmetric powers in Euros feel kind of meh? Because I don't think starting resources is asymmetric powers. I think it's just starting resources.
That's just a balance issue
here. And you might focus here, but we're really still playing the same game.
Like I said,
that's fair.
I like it if you can go in an asymmetrical direction, but I want everybody to have the choice to pick what direction they want to go in.
Right. Tech trees. That's the
yeah. That was one of the problems I had with that game Beyond the Sun. I love the tech tree where everybody has a chance to do this, but you can't do everything. But in that game, you kind of can do everything by the end of the game. That's what I kind of didn't like about it. But in games where you do have to kind of choose a direction and go and then kind of maximize that, I do kind of like that too. And that's another way to do the asymmetric power thing without calling it that, maybe.
I made a little note here too that I wonder, again, I don't play a lot of co-ops, but are asymmetric powers more common in co-ops, do you think? I mean, certainly they would be in things like dungeon crawlers, like a Gloomhaven, right?
Yeah, but you have to have that in a co-op because you're not competing each other. So if you are the overpowered person, like that's okay, especially if everyone's on board with it. Now, if you're doing everything and you don't need anybody else, well, that's no fun. But knowing that this person defeats every enemy, you work with that. You're like, okay, well, how do we get this person up to the front of the line so that they're taking all that damage? Because that's what they're best at. And then I'm going to stay back and do this puzzle or whatever. So in co-ops, that's where it shines the best. And one would probably say you need them or else you're just playing Trogdor.
And none of us want to do that.
No one wants to play Trogdor.
Well, guys, why don't you chime in and tell us what you think about asymmetrical powers or variable player powers in games? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Do you like them depending on the game? Don't forget to smash those like and subscribe buttons and let us know what your thoughts are on this awesome topic.
Round 2. Fight!
Round 2 is the return of the hot seat. Might remember we've been putting together.
So hot it hurts. Hot, 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 hot. Hot, 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 hot. I said it's getting hot in here. So hot.
It's hot. Damn hot. Real hot.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
So hot right now.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
That's hot.
So hearing it one more time, by the way, I've realized that actually we just need the last 5 seconds.
Yes.
It's Mugatsu into whatever her name is, and that's the
Paris
only
Hilton.
good parts of that. So we just need the last like 3 seconds.
Did that intro get longer? Just my imagination.
No, it's just your imagination. Just your imagination.
Always been that long. Okay. We'll talk about the length later, though.
That's right.
We will.
Yeah, nice.
But in this segment, we finally put the heart and soul of this show in the hot seat. Dan the Man, Dangerous Dan Connors, is front and center as we all grill him one after another with some questions. So you get to know Dan. So how about that? All right. Dan, are you ready, buddy?
I am as ready as I was last time we did this and no one got to hear it.
Unfortunately, I threw away all my questions, so I had to come up with some new ones here in the last 2 minutes.
Mhm.
Well,
So-
good. I changed all the answers to what you guys asked me. So.
For those of
All
you
right.
that don't know, we did try this one other time and we lost the audio.
Yes. Well, actually, we lost the video.
the whole
We have
thing.
the audio.
Yeah.
Whole
So
thing.
maybe for the audio podcast, maybe one day we'll release it and we'll test myself. Did I come up with the same answers or not?
Yeah, that's true. You could still put it on the podcast.
It'll be the around the board deep cuts.
There you go.
All right. Well, I'll start and we'll head around the board as we do. So, all right, Daniel, here we go. I've known you for what, 8 years?
Sure.
I think I've seen you wear shorts all of one time. So, for those who don't know, we live in the Midwest. It gets pretty hot out here. So, Daniel, my question is, how many pair of shorts do you own?
Wow. I love that as a start. I own 2, and one because I just bought them last summer because they have Marvel characters on
That's
them.
the ones I've seen.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
I think I flashed it on camera once, didn't I? It just
I
they
don't
weren't
remember.
rolling.
That was your midriff, I think. But, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Chris, what you got?
Well, actually, speaking of Marvel, why, Daniel? Why will you defend these people forever?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So I was a single boy in a household of all girls, and
As opposed to a married boy?
That's right.
Exactly.
Oh yes, okay, no, whatever. And I found comics in 3rd grade. It was the one thing that belonged to me. It was the one thing that I felt like wasn't girly at the time because, again, surrounded by girls. I used to have Lisa Frank Caboodle, which, if you know it, you know it. But I used to collect that stuff because my sisters did it. And I found comic books. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it opened up this whole world to me. And the stories resonated with me. These characters became, it's cliche, but like legitimately, they became part of my family, at least in my head. You know, like there's so much emotional stuff with comic books for me that even now, as the comic books have kind of gotten away from what I enjoy from it, the sentimentality I have for it is just so overwhelming. And I can forgive a lot for that because these characters are special to me in a way that doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. And let me even put it this way. I know John's doing this. When celebrities pass away, I don't care. Like I'm like, all right, that sucks.
Wow.
I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know who they are, and it's like, yeah, whatever. I won't see you. When Stan Lee passed away, I actually cried.
Oh, okay.
Like I legitimately cried, and I was like, I didn't see that coming, and I'm getting a little emotional about it right now because I'm telling you. Anyways, yeah, you struck a chord with me, Chris.
Oh no, it's fine. I started laughing because I thought you were going to say, like, I don't laugh when the celebrities die, but I thought you were going to say, but when a character dies in the comics, it really upsets me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Daniel.
Well, it
But I was
used
like,
to until I realized the character deaths don't matter, and
that's
don't
also
care.
part of the
Not at all.
problem, correct? But yeah,
Yeah.
when you said Stanley, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That dude was, big deal.
Yeah. So
All
What
right,
you got,
Andy.
Andy?
So, Daniel, it is well known that your nickname on Board Game Geek is Oasis, and maybe it's lesser known, but known that one of your favorite games is a game called Oasis from Alan Moon, although it's a little known game. Tell us about that and why it's such a favorite of yours.
Yeah, so I picked Oasis during the World of Warcraft days. I was a giant Tauren druid, and the Taurens lived in the Bluffs, I think it was, or something like that, but it was right outside the Barrens. So I felt like that was a really great druid name, like you're an oasis, like you're a spring of life in the desert. And then I just clung to that name. I really enjoyed that name. I love the imagery behind it. I also, that was kind of like one of my favorite times playing WoW because I was involved in an online community that we later found out literally lived in the same city as us. So we actually went and hung out with these people, like our guild. It was
Was
this
the name
really
of the
cool
city
thing.
Ironforge?
Yeah, no, I think that was the dwarfs. But
That was the
anyways,
dwarves.
I really like the name, and I stick with it. So
But
So-
why do you like that trash game?
well, it was great at the time, you know it.
It's actually a pretty good game. What
That's right.
What
Just
about
played incorrectly with Daniel. Was the
what
problem?
about the band? The band. You're not a fan of the band,
I
Oasis?
like the band. Oh, you mean trash game, the board game Oasis?
Yes.
I thought you meant
Yes.
World of Warcraft. No,
No, he
Oasis
meant
is
no.
wonderful. The band is great. Everything Oasis. I even go to the car washes that are called Oasis because you got to support something
Yeah.
that you love.
Oh,
John,
man.
what do you got?
All right, Daniel, you've been doing this to all of us. So, what is your number 32 favorite game?
Oh man, I had it
Well
pulled
done,
up last
John.
time we did this. Dang
Yep,
it.
well, I guess you got to guess.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with why 32. That's such a hard number.
Yep.
Cartographers. Cartographers. There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
We're gonna
cool.
hold
Fair
them to
enough.
that, guys.
Just played that last night. Yeah.
So let it be written.
Oh, nice.
So let it be done.
That's right. I have spoken.
All right. This has been John and I did not get together before the show, but each time his thing has transitioned to mine. So he talked about, he asked for number 32. I got a question about clearly your number 1. Why do you like Gloomhaven so much?
Well, first of all, I don't know if that's my number 1, but I will answer the question because Gloomhaven is, I say this a lot and I know I'm not consistent with it, but whatever. It's the reason. I like puzzly games. And Gloomhaven to me is one of the best puzzles you have because you have your 10 cards and every single round you have to match those 2 cards together to optimize that moment in that situation. And then you have the equally awesome decision of when you rest, you have to trash one of those cards. And then some of your cards are so powerful that when you use them, you have to trash them. But they have an alternate version where it's not as powerful, so you don't have to trash it. So there's just so many good decisions. And I swear every single time I play this game, except for maybe very few occasions, it always ends with, are we going to win? Or I don't know. This is looking pretty rough. And then we always pull out a victory. Well, not always, but usually. But it's just so much about it is just tight, exciting, and puzzly. That's why.
You know what a nice, tight, puzzly game is?
What?
Brass.
No, Brass is a solid 6 in my opinion.
Oh,
Get out of here. Get out of here with your Brass nonsense and you review bombers. Bah. Gloomhaven's the best.
Our audience may or may not know this. You're a huge Futurama nerd. You love Futurama. Favorite show, right?
That's right. Favorite cartoon, at least. Yes.
So for my question for you is this: if you could play board games with any 2 characters from the show Futurama, who would they be and what would you play?
So
I like this one.
Yeah. And I think I'm not going to be able to match what I said last time because it was pretty on the spot and pretty awesome. But yeah, you can't play with Fry because he would be the person that you just had to explain the rules like 1,000 times, kind of like Andy. So you don't want that. And then Dr. Zoidberg, you can't play with him because he doesn't even know what a human is. He literally doesn't understand the things he looks at. So there's that. So I think you got to go with Hermie Conrad because he is analytical. He's a bureaucrat. I think he would destroy you in board games. He'd actually be very much like Randy, I think. And then Leela, you got to play against Leela. And then also, if you kind of wanted the advantage on her, you can play a dexterity game, and you can probably make sure you win every time. She has
no depth perception. Correct.
I was looking for my boring signs. Those of us that have never seen Futurama.
Oh, whatever, man. Futurama is great.
Boring ones he chose. You got to go with Zoidberg. Like, who cares if you win or even have a good time? I just want to go with the characters that's going to make the most exciting and fun adventure. Not adventure, but just time.
Zoidberg would destroy your game. Like, not just because of his claws, but because he's that stupid. Like, he's just like, yeah.
I want to play a hit and roll game with what's his name? Zap Brannigan?
Zap Brannigan?
Yes.
Yes. Actually, I would play any game with Zap Brannigan.
That would be amazing.
Great. All right, moving along. Daniel, you're not really into the light games very much. But I want to know, what's the lightest game that you do enjoy that's not a party game?
Wait, maybe Unmatched. Would that count? I feel like that's a pretty light game, pretty straightforward. I've
not
got a
what
lot
Anne
of no's. Really? That's not light?
I mean, light is subjective, but I'm going to say for the most of our audience, that's not going to be light.
No, whatever. Okay, what about Quadropolis? Does that one work?
Not really. It's
okay, that is so funny. Whatever.
How about something along the lines of No Thanks?
Yeah,
I like No Thanks. No Thanks, my
choice.
It's
a party game.
There you go.
It's not a party game.
No Thanks isn't. I was no, it's not. My bad. I was thinking of something else.
That does jog my memory. No Thanks.
Yeah, that would be considered.
For Sale. I really enjoyed those.
There you go. Okay.
So yeah, there you go.
Okay.
All right. So unfortunately, the transition awesomeness has come to a close between John and I. But something that Daniel said a moment ago actually does go with. I will phrase the question based on what you said. What would be your favorite game to play with Leela? What's your favorite dexterity game?
All right. Favorite dexterity game. Oh, I don't know. Does Crokinole count? Is that a board game?
No.
Okay,
absolutely game.
Let me pick an actual board game. Man, I don't like.
It is a board game.
No, actually, hey, no, there is this game I enjoy. It's called Dino World. It's a hobby game, and what's really cool about it is you see the board, like the play area with these little cards that are like dinosaurs, and then you have bigger dinosaurs. Like you have a T-Rex that's this big, and you have like a different dinosaur that's this big, and you have like 3 of them, and you put the card on top of the box, and you have to like pop the card off the box, and then if it lands on the dinosaurs, you get to eat it, but it has to be a bigger. So like if a T-Rex lands on a T-Rex, you don't get to eat the T-Rex. So you're actually trying to like get these big cards to be set up to get as many of the little cards as possible. Yeah, no, that's probably my favorite dexterity game. I actually really enjoy that one.
I thought for sure you'd say something like Flick 'em Up.
No.
Or Thick 'em Up.
Thick 'em Up. Thick 'em Up's going to be one of our next parodies. Just to give you a sneak preview, we've been talking about what it could mean. It could mean lots of things, but one of them that my favorite so far is that it's going to be Mike Tyson holding up banks.
Thick
'em up. Anyway, Daniel, I've always considered you a board game evangelist because your love for the hobby and is so natural, and you like to bring people in, and it's a very heartwarming characteristic about you. Now that you're on YouTube, would you consider yourself a board game tele-evangelist?
Yeah.
And if so,
where should
what
we
would your
send them?
style be? Would it be more like Benny Hinn, more Joel Osteen?
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna go with Joel Osteen because I want you to feel good. I want you to feel great when you play board games. I want you to feel welcome. I want you to know that you are special just because you play board games. And yeah, I don't know.
Plus, I also think if you go the Benny Hinn route, you're gonna break your games beating people with them. So
Oh yeah.
That's right. You might fall on top of a stack of board games if you're slain too.
Oh, there you go too. Yeah.
Okay, well, this has gone in an interesting direction. Well, I think that's enough roasting Daniel for one day. I hope you guys feel like you've gotten to know Daniel a little bit better by these random odd questions. So, but if there's anything you have to ask Daniel, please send it in the message or put it in the message down below. Please make a comment, and maybe Hanzo will ask him one day. But until then, we're going to take a little break here, and we'll be right back with round 3 after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
When war breaks out on the high seas, the commander of an aircraft carrier is thrown into battle. We're the only defense in these waters. Thank God there's no civilians. Wait, what's that? Looks like a cruise ship. Make contact, bring them aboard. What type of cruise is this? It's a K-Love Christian family cruise. We were on our way to load everyone. So who are you? We're the Warship Band. Well, we got a war to fight. How are you gonna help? In Warship Worship, you play as members of a contemporary Christian music band, sparking a revival on board an aircraft carrier in active combat. Increase your music track to inspire the crew. Gain hallelujah tokens by getting the crew to raise their arms. Perfect for warding off the fiery missiles of the enemy. But be careful. If you use more than 7 words in a chorus sung less than 11 times, you might be discovered as a fraud. Warship Worship. A terrible sounding Christian themed board game, right up there with Bibleopoly.
All right, well, welcome back. Before we get to our third segment, I think it's time to go to our roaming in the field or on the field or out somewhere.
Out of left field.
Around the field.
Our correspondent, Hansa.
You say he's in the field, but doesn't he just stay in his room the whole time?
Oh, man. That's why he's not a fan of yours.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Hansa. What do you got for us? Today, I have a letter from Joe Coleman. He says, "Dear Around the Board, I thought me and Daniel had similar taste, but standees over meeples? Hansa must have hit him in the head or something. I agree if we are talking about small little gray minis, but some of the minis in games like Massive Darkness 2, Mythic Battles, Nemesis, just to add so much fun factor to the game. Meeples would be my second, and standees the last, though acrylic standees can be very nice, almost even with the others."
Okay.
All right. Hey, that wasn't too bad. I mean,
That's not too bad at all.
It did make fun of me a little bit, but that's okay. I mean,
That was one of the better parts.
Yeah.
I think it was convenient that Hansa and whoever voices Hansa picked one of the nicest comments made to you about standees instead of one of the ones that really just roasts you.
Well,
It did imply though that he
how
was
many
like,
comments do you think we get?
I thought I saw some pretty mean ones out there, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think
Yeah,
you're wrong.
appropriately enough, these comments about minis are making Daniel feel very small.
Ooh.
like that.
So all I know is that standees are great, and see, look at that.
There you go.
That's immersive.
Yeah, that's the
You
problem.
can't get that from a miniature. You can't get that from a miniature.
Turn it.
Yeah, you were selling
There
it
you
there
go.
for a second when I could only see half of it because I can only see it half of the time. So that made sense.
Whatever.
Well, enough of our banter. We know why people are really here.
Round 3. Fight!
Shall we play a game?
Randy's the referee?
Oh, you mad, bro?
Well, I am mad that Randy's the referee. We gotta change that somehow. So today for the great game debate, we have, in my opinion, Sidereal Confluence. Now, I think we're going to have as heated debate on how to pronounce this game as we are the game itself. But regardless, I guess that's an ongoing thing just with Daniel as a whole. But regardless, so anyway, so this is like a so the reason we played it, because this is actually one of my games. I bought it a couple of years ago. I hadn't heard about it. It kind of well, I guess to say on brand, it showed up in my purview right on time after it had been out a few years or whatever. But anyways, I finally found out about this game, and I love the idea of it. It seemed very different than anything else that was out there. It's a very focused on trading game and kind of like, actually like, making actually talking with one another. What's the word we were talking about earlier? What's
Deal
the
making, negotiating.
Well, I know, but there's a name for the mechanic. Not table talk, whatever, regardless, but we know what we're talking about here. And I just thought it was really interesting the fact that it actually leaned into that, opposed to it being like something additional. It was like essential to the game. So so what we're gonna do right now is actually show you a video from Daniel explaining actually how to exactly play the game, and then we'll come back and kind of give our opinions.
Sidereal Confluence is played over 3 phases. The first phase is the trade phase, which is the heart of this game. In the trade phase, you can trade anything you want to your opponents. You can run your converters with the purple arrow, and you can upgrade your cards. One of the cool things about Sidereal Confluence is it comes with this card that shows you what a good trade is. 3 small cubes equals 2 big cubes, which can equal 1 hexagon, which equals a star, which equals 3 ship points. So you always know if you're making a fair trade. After that, you go to the economy phase where you run your white converters. This is where you are going to gain the majority of your resources. Then you're going to go to the confluence phase. In confluence, you share technology, you bid on colonies, and you do bids for research. After you do the trade phase, you go into the economy phase where you run your machines. This is an example of a machine. I'm going to put 5 green cubes in there to output 4 ships, a black cube, a yellow cube, and a blue cube. If I had one of these hexagon resources, I would be able to spend that to get 1 ship. Another interesting thing about this is there's always these technologies at the bottom of these cards. If you or anyone at the table has explored these technologies, you can tuck the technology underneath the card to upgrade it. Now, something that was giving you just 1 resource is now giving you 2 resources. It upgrades the ability. This is what a technology card would look like. This one requires 6 white cubes or 4 blue cubes to upgrade. But once you've upgraded it, you've unlocked this technology not only for you, but for everybody else. And because you're giving them this bonus, you're going to get a sharing bonus. If you finish a technology bonus in the first age, you're going to get significantly more points than if you finish it in the last age. On the confluence phase, you are going to use ships to bid on the technology and on the planets. Depending on the number of ships you bid, it's going to determine which planets you can buy. So if you bid 3 ships, you can buy a planet that's 3, 2, or 1. Which means if your opponents only bid 1 ship and you take the only 1 planet that is out there, they may not be able to get a planet and they will retrieve their ships. Technology works in exactly the same way. The reason you might want a planet is they generate a resource for free. You can also pay to upgrade them and make them a stronger planet, producing a better resource, once again, for free. You do this over 6 rounds, and at the end, whoever has the most points is the victor.
All right, thank you, Daniel. That was fantastic. And
You're welcome.
so now we're gonna. Oh, you're welcome. You really threw me off there. I wasn't ready for that. Anyways,
Everyone's very polite today, by the way.
So yeah, anyways, like I was saying before, it was my game. I had it for a couple of years, and I learned about it. I don't even know how I got onto it. I think I was kind of in the mood of finally being like, I want to find my big space game, right? Like maybe I was inspired by whatever his name is from the Dice Tower that loves Zaya,
Roy Cannaday,
like, because that dude just loves him some space. He can't get enough space, and Zaya is his favorite game. And I was like, all right, and everybody loves TI and stuff. I was like, I want to find something that's different out there that's like my go-to space game that I love. And so I was kind of on a mission to find it, and came across Sidereal. It had just had, within the last few months at the time, I think it had just done its kind of second edition printing, which even for me, I'm not the art or production guy, but it went way up with the new edition compared to the old one. And I just learned about it, how there's this game. It's purely a trading game. Purely a trading game. There's a little more to it, but it's basically purely a trading game. And there's up to 9 different asymmetrical races where everyone has a different player, not only player powers, but almost they're all playing the game all very differently in different ways. I know Daniel definitely would talk about a couple of them that he played specifically when we were kind of playing it for the show. And there's all these different resources that you have. And so during, as it said in the game, right, in the description, you have a time where you do all this open trading for 10 minutes at a time. And then you have all these different little machines, so to speak, or technologies or converters. There's different terms for it, that you put in some stuff here and it outputs some stuff there. And I was like, well, that's super simple. But then the idea of you take what you output and trade it to try to collect different things, and then buy the orders, which are new technologies to get victory points. And I was like, it seems so simple, but also so robust and so interesting to have that real full-on open market trading. I was like, this sounds crazy and interesting. I was like, I can't wait to play this. And I got it and sat on the shelf for 2 years. But then by pure kind of semi-pure chance, we finally got to play recently. And I got to be honest, I like the game. I couldn't believe how much other people like the game. I was shocked. I thought it was going to go over like a lead balloon, honestly, but just because I sometimes some weird tastes. But yeah, we played it, and I was like, I kept talking to our friend Ryan. I was like, I think I like the game the least of everyone. Like, I was like, I enjoy it greatly, but I think a lot of people like it a little more. So it was really interesting. It was just a real interesting situation, and I don't know. It was just not what I expected. But the game was, but not the reaction. It was awesome. So. What was your thoughts on this, Andy?
Well, thank you, Chris. Yeah, when I first heard about it, my initial thought was it kind of sounded like Cosmic Encounter. And there are some similarities. You are in space. You are a different alien race with different powers, so to speak. But this one's less about attacking people and more just negotiating and getting your engine going and trying to be the more successful merchant. And I wasn't sure what I thought about it, but Chris, I'm very grateful. He convinced me, Andy, you have to play this. You have to do this. This is your type of game. And I sat down and played it, and it was a lot of fun. I left it. It's always a good game when you leave it and the next night you're dreaming about it or you're thinking about ways to play it. That usually means that it did something for you that was unique, and it was. It was a very unique game. I like the negotiation. Now, I will say, it does benefit me that I'm a talker. I definitely get loud playing that game. Although the second time we played it twice. And by the way, keep in mind, these opinions are with a bit of a grain of salt because we have not played it a ton. So we haven't tested it a ton, but this is, our first impressions. And the second time I was able to keep it a little quieter, which I know some people appreciated because we had some kids sleeping. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the trading. I really enjoyed the negotiation. In this case, I liked the variable player powers. I'm always concerned with some pure negotiation games that you can just get beat up on if people don't like you or they don't trust you, which, believe it or not, happens to me sometimes.
No.
I think they like me still, but they might not trust me. But anyway, I didn't feel like that was as possible in this game, and that might be because it had a higher player count. So you can play up to 9, I think is where it plays best. And we played at 6 and 7, and it played great. It was fantastic. And I didn't feel like anybody was really ganging up on anybody. I felt like there was such unique, interesting powers per person that you almost at some point had to at least consider dealing with someone, just because it's like, well, yeah, I don't want them to win, but man, look what they can offer me. This is great. This will really help me go. And it was a fun game. I played the first time I played with a race that was abundant in resources, and it was hard to go to a different race, honestly, after that, because I kind of got spoiled. But anyway, my time's up. It was good. It was a good game. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I want to say, well, before I get to my time, I wanted to point out that Andy played such a race that had abundant of resources, and he was right next to the person who made any resource he wanted, or a wild, and they just traded with each other the entire night. They won, and that person is John and Andy, and they both beat all of the table by like 20 points. It's like, yeah, that's what happens when you guys only trade with the 2 races. So anyway, so just keep that in mind. You do want to trade with the whole table.
Well, John and I didn't, and we liked it just fine.
Yeah, well,
I won one trade too many with Andy.
That's right, because John ended up losing. So yeah, but no, I actually really enjoyed Sidereal Confluence. I was the one that night I texted everybody immediately and said that game was great. I kind of just was thinking upon it, and I played a very unique race too. Like Andy said, he had one that generated a bunch of resources, which is kind of the heart of the game, is getting those resources. So like I feel like Andy and John really got the most experience on that. Mine was like, I literally resource a random technology, I flip it over, and it changes how I play the game, which I just adored. And at one point, it was something where it's like I could give essentially resources that would reduce the resources that were needed to complete technology. And I'm sitting here yelling at Chris, going, Chris, this is the best deal you have on the table. You have to take mine. And Chris is like, nope, sounds too good. I'm not trading with you. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So there was a lot of fun moments. This is a game, while the negotiation, like the mechanic of the games are fun, the stories that came out of this game were just top notch. It's really hard to get like a role-playing experience from a board game, and what I mean by is the stories you can tell for time and time again. But this game had the stories. I will remember the 2 plays of this that we've played like for the rest of my board gaming career. They were so memorable. And the second one, I will make this one quick. I was like the mafia one, and even that one was fun because I'm literally sitting there going, so who's going to give me something so I don't just take what you need away. And one person just completely ignored me. Oh. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make it personal. And I took it from him, and they were just like, wow, that was personal. It's like, I didn't even need those resources, Ryan. I took them because you gave me nothing. And I lost that game, but I don't care. It was fun. So
I really enjoyed when you played that too, because I would like throw you stuff at the last minute. Because
yes,
if the way that particular race works is if they make any deal with you, they can't steal from you. So you're just like, just take my stuff. Just take anything. Here, take a planet.
And you screwed me over because at one point you were like, here, take my planet. And I was like, I'll take a planet for free. And then I looked down and I was at my planet limit. And I was like, no. So he took advantage of me.
There you go. That's awesome. Chris, much like you, well, maybe a little different like you, this game was on my radar when it came out, but it was on my radar like an approaching torpedo. And it's like, how can I avoid this game and never having to play it? Because number one, Sidereal Confluence, Sidereal Conflux, whatever you want to call it, if you have to have a definition on the back of your box of what your game name means, which this one has, then that's pretty bad. Bad name, terrible name. And then it's pure negotiation, and it's like 8 hours long. I never want to play this game. There's no way. Okay, then we're stuck in a cabin playing games all day, and this is coming out. Like, well, all right, for the sake of the show, I'm taking a hit. I'm going to play this game. And so I sit down. This looked bad from the get-go. Here's your little board. This is what you are. Oh, I'm this guy. I'm basically the Borg. I don't know what they're really called, but I'm like the Borg. And I can make
Unity. They were called Unity.
That's it, Unity. And I can make, wild resources and everything. Okay, whatever. And then once the game got going, which took a little while, that's the thing. You got to have, that was my thing too. It's like, at least I'm not worried about this game getting over early because this is what we're doing. We're committed. And once you get into it, I got to admit, it's a fun game. I had a good time. But I think it is dependent. It is very group dependent. I know lots of people that would never play this game and would never enjoy it. So go into it, know what you're getting into. And it really shouldn't be what it says 120, 180 minutes. It really shouldn't be that upper tier if you played before. Did you guys agree? Your other games, did it go better? without the teach and everything. Especially, I would treat this game like I say I treat these other games. I would want to be Unity, whatever they are, the Borg. I would want to be them again at least 2-3 more times before I did something else. And just because once you give me a power, I like that power. I don't want to get rid of it. But the way this one handles the asymmetric powers, I'll say that it's better than some of the other ones because really the powers aren't like complicated. It's like, oh, I create wild resources. That's not hard to figure out. When it says I create them, and that's what I get. I can't cheat. That's, by accidentally, I can't cheat and say did something wrong. And so, and Andy, his creates a lot of resources. It has it right on the card. That's how many you're going to get. It's that you just have that power. It's not like you have to remember, oh, I do this though, and then I do this. No, you're different. They're different. But really, it's different takes on the same thing. And it's they did it right. They did for how many different characters are there? How many different races is there? Like
It's 9.
It is 9. Okay, I didn't know if there was extra in case you wanted more players or whatever. But
and the cool thing, John, about this game is that we have been talking about how it's heavy negotiation, but I feel like even if you're not a heavy negotiator, you can kind of figure out the puzzle. Yeah. There's still a puzzle element to it. And I feel like actually Randy did that in the second game we played, because while he was trading with people, I don't feel like he was really going out of his way to like twist people's arms into stuff. I think he just figured out the puzzle of what resource he is abundant in, what he can convert, and he just he mathed it all out, and he stomped us because of that, which that is my weakness. My strong point is more in the negotiation, and it's going to be less in the actually figuring out the math puzzle there.
That's funny. I played it a little different. Sorry, Chris. When we played, one of our other friends, Kelly, was the mafia group. First thing I did when training opened, first thing I did, here's what I got. What do you want? What are you going to give me for it? Okay, great. There we go. We're done. I'm doing everything else now. So I'm like, I don't know what you stealed from me. I don't know how that works. I don't want to find out how that works.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is that, like, just kind of following up a couple things John said, like, the first time you play it's kind of a rough teach. I'm not going to lie, because it's just kind of understanding, even though the game is actually really simplistic, like trying to wrap your mind around even the core mechanics at first is difficult. Once you execute it, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is super easy. But like wrapping your mind around how to do that is kind of difficult. And then on top of that, then you have the player powers, and some are more and less difficult to immediately read and understand how to execute it. Like by the end, like the two that Daniel played, both the first one where he was trading with me, like the breakdown there was perfectly exactly what I'm saying. Like he was making trades with me that he was like, hey, I want to give you these 2 good cubes for the one lesser cube, and then I'm also going to give you this little tile thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's that tile mean? Because you're giving me a lot for not much. What's this tile? He's like, well, it actually helps you make things even cheaper. And I'm like, wait, so you're giving me an awesome deal plus it gets better. What's the catch? There's got to be a catch here. You're not a stupid person, Daniel. And he's like, no, it just helps you. He's fine. It's okay. And I'm like, no, I don't believe you. Now, by the end of the first play, I understood how that mechanic worked, and I'd be like, okay, now, sure, okay, I'll do that. I understand what you're trying to do.
Because it gave me a victory point. If he would finish his technology, I would get a victory point because I gave him that, which was
and I would get like 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so I was just like, why would I give you what? No, there's got to be another catch, because you're helping me get 7. You just get 1. But again, the whole idea is that he does that to everyone, and everyone gets 7, he gets 5. That's kind of what it is. But regardless, it doesn't matter.
And I don't do anything except give you stuff.
Right. Yeah. So again, the game has some like of those player powers that are not immediately easy to understand and execute. But once you see the matrix, so to speak, for each of the player powers, then it's really interesting. And that's kind of what Andy was talking about with Randy. He saw, oh, okay, I can figure out how to manipulate my ability to work with the other people. So yeah,
I do want to say something
a huge meta game.
Well, and I will clarify, we didn't really say it, but it is a heavier game to start with, at least.
Sure.
Once you get to know it, I don't think it is, but up front, it can be a little daunting.
Well, I want to counter that a little bit, actually, Andy.
Okay.
I think up front, the reason it took our group so long is no one had played it before, and that was the key. One person knowing how to play this game shaves an hour and a half off the time, because you can very easily and concisely explain the 3 rounds and how the stuff converts, the resources convert into other resources, and how you're using that to turn in technology. That's all you're doing. Everything else is just pure trading. So the game is really simple. It's just we none of us had played it, so we were all trying to figure out what terms meant and what factions did what. So it took longer. But I think if you just have one person who knows how to play, this game goes from 4 hours to 2 hours or an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's true.
I do want to say one thing about the player boards real quick, because
oh yeah,
when I first got my player board, it was all this flavor text about, my Borg or Unity or whatever they were. But then I flipped it over. I'm like, they actually give you hints on how to use your powers to your ability. Oh, okay, this is great. This shows me, why I'm different than everyone else and how to exploit that. So that's pretty cool that they have that in there.
Well, I liked that. I liked that the different races had difficulty levels, so you could send somebody through their first game a lower, easier player power to work with, which was cool. Yeah. And the other thing I just think that's interesting is you can trade with people, and it may work really well. Like maybe I've got a thing going with John, but you might realize no matter how beneficial it is to me, it's just as beneficial to him. Yep. So I have to cut this off. I have to go trade with Chris because Chris, I know, is way behind me, and that's okay. So I'm going to help him. So you have to make those decisions too. You don't get just cornered into only dealing with one person. And in the case of John and I, we did, but it was probably more to our detriment because we were just helping each other.
Yeah.
Well, it was in their detriment in that either one of them was going to lose. And if at one point they would have verged, they would have given themselves more agency to win. But it was the monopoly issue. It was whoever stopped rolling on each other's property first won the game.
That's good.
Well, what were you guys' thoughts on Sidereal Confluence? Have you played it? If not, you should. And when you do, or if you haven't, let us know in the comments.
Round 4, fight!
All right, and for the last segment of the day, we are going to talk about the length of a game and how it affects. It's going to affect how you want to play a game, when you want to play a game, where you want to play the game, and all of that stuff, and how much of that makes an impact on the type of game you want to play. So some people try to avoid the length of games like the plague. Like if it's a super long game, they're not going to go near it, while others don't want to play a game unless it takes at least 3 hours to play. Chris, are you okay there? No,
I know you understood who we were talking about.
You were throwing accusations around, throwing shade at us. I get it. No, so I think the length of a game is something that we really need to kind of look at and maybe come to terms with, because I wonder if games are really as long as we ever feel like they are. Let me explain. Sidereal Confluence is what brought this up. We avoided playing this game because we thought it was going to be this epic, long game. And in the end, it really wasn't. And the more you play the game, the quicker they come. So I think the length of a game should really not deter somebody from actually getting to the table, especially if it's a game that somebody already knows how to play. Now, I will say you get upwards to 5 to 8 hours. I get that. That's rough. And you do have to make those destination games. You have to plan out times in your day to do this. But I don't know. I just have this really weird thing about length in games. And I wish Randy would speak up at this point, but he won't because he's behind the cameras. But he loves these games that always take 10 hours. And I tell him, Randy, we can't play that epic game that takes 10 hours. And he's like, it doesn't take 10 hours. It takes 2. And I'm like, I don't know. And there's just something about these Ameritrash themey games that feel so much longer than they should. But you tell me we're going to play a 4-hour Euro game. I'm like, that feels reasonable. I'll play a 4-hour Euro game. But it's hey, do you want to play a Dead of Winter's Dueling Colonies? It takes 8 people to play. And I'm like, no, that sounds like a nightmare. And he's like, but it only takes 2 hours to play. And I'm like, no, I can't play 2 hours of that. That sounds that's horrible. Let's play this 5-hour game of 18xx, please. So it's just length in game just really, it just does something weird to my head. And it's something, as the more I've gotten into the hobby, the more I've kind of come to terms with it. And actually, I think Chris has helped me a lot in coming to terms with playing these longer games. But my final point in this is I still think I'd rather play a long Euro game than a long Ameritrash game. And I think it's because if I'm going to put that much time and energy into something, I want to feel like I'm controlling it. And these big Ameritrash games, sometimes they feel too random, too lucky, or too much out of control that I don't want to waste a bunch of time on. So anyways, that's my point. I hope that made sense. It took us 10 takes to get that out. So I hope it was good.
It was worth it.
But that's enough from me. Let's hear from John.
Well, before I get started, men, let me talk to you. Do you suffer from game length anxiety? GLA is very common in men over 40. They want to get the most out of their game night, and they're not sure if they have the stamina to stick it out. But unfortunately, there's no cure for GLA. You're going to be anxious when you see other people playing games and you're stuck in a 5-hour teach of some game you're not sure you even want to play. No, that's where I'm coming from. I have GLA. I overcame it, but I mentioned earlier when we were playing this Sidereal Confluence we're off at a retreat to play games. That's when GLA goes away for me because I got nothing else I got to do. I'll get other games played. But if we're at some other kind of a mini con or a monthly gaming event, and then somebody pulls out something and you're like, you promised you're going to play a game with them. And you're like, oh, they are going to teach this for an hour. We're going to play it for 3 more hours. And I'm like, oh, wow, they're playing Wingspan. I sure wish I was playing Wingspan. I mean, that's just what happens. I'm sorry. I do have game length anxiety. And sometimes it's justified. And sometimes I get over myself and I have a good time. It's just the way it is. And then if you throw in somebody that's AP along with it, good night. If you throw in a bad teach and you don't even feel the theme as you're playing it, like my first play I had of Great Western Trail, not a short game, especially with the teach. And then if you really don't care what you're doing, it's really not fun. So yes, game length is a problem. I'm sorry. It is for me. Maybe it's not really a problem, but those of us that suffer from GLA, it's a problem. So please just accept us for who we are.
John, I think you have to live in the moment. Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe that's what it is.
Don't look at what everybody else has and just appreciate what you're experiencing now.
they're
Daniel
living a better
Tiger says
moment.
it best when he said, enjoy the wow that's happening now.
There you go. I'll do that. Thank you.
If a game length lasts longer than 4 hours, please see your doctor.
Exactly.
All right, Andy, what do you got for us? Oh, no, sorry.
Or we could go to Chris.
So, all right. So I think I need to start wearing a bow tie myself because I feel like I am the good doctor of GLA fixing. Because Daniel brought it up and John, I guess, is kind of alluding to it without even knowing it. Like, and this is something I try to tell Daniel for a long time because I've been doing this a long time. I'm not like new to the place. I'm not like, oh, it's so exciting and look what else has to do to me. I've done this for a long time. I can be calm and slowly moving through things. I can do it right. Okay. And the answer to this and to most things in life is the thing that we've been told forever since we're kids. If you're having a good time, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. And it doesn't matter if it's an 8-hour game or even a 1-hour game. We played a game recently at that TrevorCon that was like a 1-hour game and it felt like 12 because it was that bad. And then
what game?
It's a game that tells you it's bad right on the box. It's called Bad Company. We're going to talk about this more in the future, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like, it felt like forever. But then we played Sidereal Confluence, which again ended up not being long once we started playing, but it was long the first play because the teach, but whatever. But like, if you play games like, for those of us that like 18xx, those games legitimately do take like 6 hours, but it feels like it's a standard game of 2 hours or less because you're so engaged. It's so fun. You're enjoying the moment. So the key is not to care about how long the game takes, unless it is a super long one, then yes, you do got to put it on the calendar and all that stuff. But outside of that, if it's a 5-6 hour game night and you only get one game in that takes 6 hours, but you had a blast, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And the key is finding a game that you really enjoy. And if you do, time is going to fly. So it does and doesn't matter. To me, it absolutely doesn't matter unless the game's bad. But that's a whole other story.
But Chris, what if the game is bad? That's why I don't want to play Randy's games, because they're gonna be bad. And I don't want to commit 5 hours. I love Randy, who literally can't do anything about this.
Shots fired. But yeah, no, there is risk, right? I won't deny that if it's a long game, there's more risk involved. Sure. Mm-hmm. But if you do find that game that speaks to you, then it's going to feel just as quick as anything else. So, but yes, I did appreciate the points going down. And honestly, Randy, I've done a good job. I've supported you this whole episode. I don't know how I still have even the same amount as him. Like, he should have at least at minimum 9, if not less. But
I just stole the victory from the hands of defeat.
Yes.
All right, Andy, what do you got for us? Do you care about length in games?
Well,
So I think the problem here, guys, is expectations. When you go into a situation, you need to have proper expectations. You need to know what you're getting into. You need to know who you're playing with, right? I've been in situations on one of our mass game gatherings on a second Friday where I'm trying to play games with somebody who would be very comfortable with a party game or an entry-level gateway game, and then I'm playing with somebody who is into a really much more complicated game, and we're trying to play something. And just to be perfectly honest, it's not going to work playing with that group in some cases. It's going to be really hard to fit something in that's going to work with both types of people. And so what happens, I think, a lot of times is we go to certain games and a good analogy is it's like going to eat at a McDonald's in a tuxedo. Okay? You don't go to a McDonald's in a tuxedo. Just like you don't go to a 5-star steakhouse in jorts. You just don't do it.
Or anywhere.
And so if you're going to sit down and try and play a lengthy, complicated game with a crew that clearly is not going to be into that, it's going to be a bad experience. And so you just have to you have to set expectations. You kind of have to be, it's really hard for me because I'm not a planner. I'm impulsive, right? But I think you said it properly that you need to set these things up. So a game that's on my shelf that I think is going to be a long game, although I don't think it's going to be nearly as long as we think it is Tsukuyomi Full Moon Down. I backed this thing like 3 years ago. It's still in shrink. I've got all these expansions and miniatures, and I really want to get it played. But every time I go to like pull it out, people are like, "Oh, that's going to be at least 4 or 5 hours, right?" I'm like, "No, it says
Break it out and learn it.
It
so you can
says
teach
180
somebody.
minutes. That's 180 minutes. It's not 5 hours. It's 3 hours. But anyway,
5 hours if you're tearing it open and teaching it.
Perhaps. But the point is that you have to set an appointment for this type of thing.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a bit of a crapshoot. It could be a bad game and you might not enjoy the experience, but it's worth taking that shot every once in a while to see if you can find something. Because, for instance, Sidereal Confluence, my initial thought was I didn't want to play it. Chris convinced me to play. I'm so glad I did. It was a great experience. Now, I might not have felt the same way when Randy tried to get me to play Frostpunk. I didn't end up playing that, and I don't know. I still have my doubts about maybe whether I'd like that or not. But you just have to know what you're getting into, and it kind of takes advanced planning. And there is a place for those filler games. There's a place for those gateway games that last exactly an hour. There's a place for the long games. It's just planning out your evening, going into it with the right expectations.
Andy, I got to bring up Sukamudi full moon down, whatever it is.
You should not be even allowed to try and pronounce that.
I don't. I try not to pronounce a lot of things actually. But you, like John was saying, you have to open up the game. And I think this is an important point.
Yes.
If you are a person who has a long game and you want it played, I'm going to get some point back from Randy. You need to know how to play the game.
Yes.
And for all the crap I give Randy, he learns how to play his games. And when you sit down at a table with him, he's like, this is how you play. It's a clean explanation that and you feel engaged right away. But if you're like, hey guys, I have this game, it comes in 10 boxes. Who wants to learn how to play it?
And then teach us.
Yeah, come on.
Like, it's not gonna happen. It's not
That's
gonna
an
happen.
adventure.
The problem
Gotta be more
is, Daniel,
adventurous.
the problem is, Daniel, though, that's just like an overarching problem. Like, that's an overarching problem I have. Like, I don't have the ability to read a rule book or even watch a video and then be able to execute that and explain that to people a way that like Randy or Ryan or someone else can. So even if it's like a 2-hour game, I have trouble selling people on a 2-hour game because I'm like, it's a game and you do the things, and like I don't sell it well. I'm not a salesman. I've said this a million times. Like, and so it does take me. Sometimes you just have to like trust the person, right? Like you have to just trust me or someone in my same situation. Like just please play this game with me, right? Like I'll do the best I can.
So I will say,
what's funny is I can be just the opposite. I have games that I have sat down, opened up, went through the rules, learned them, and I still don't feel confident enough to teach them to somebody. So it's
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's like, I know how to play it, kind of. It's like, but it's some of those games you just have to see them played to really know you understand them.
well, and
And
I
that's
admit,
how I am. Like if I learn through experience, and so that's what I'm saying. Like you just have to trust me that first time. Like yes, and it is easier to trust someone on a 2-hour game than like what might be a 4-hour game. Sure, but
yeah,
you just got to trust people.
and I admit, guys, I am completely guilty of what you said, Daniel. I am lazy, and I don't want to learn the things. I want someone to teach them to me. Actually, it makes me think of something. When as we continue to progress here on Around the Board, we've talked about having a line of apparel, custom wear, if you will. And I'm getting a shirt for a friend of mine that we all know, a guy named Tyler, who I have made my board game Sherpa, so to speak. I make him read the rules and teach the games, which I don't know how he's let me do that, but he has. So I want to just get him a T-shirt that says Board Game Sherpa. Anyway, maybe that's fun that will make the Around the Board line. What do you think, Chris?
There you go.
I mean, as long as we get the infrastructure figured out for the store.
Yeah, shirts are coming.
I've done my part.
Soon. Let's see. Maybe.
Swag. Do they call it swag still?
I do.
The cool
But why
kids
not?
do. The cool kids do, Andy.
I
So
think
just
there's a
make sure
newer
you
term.
tell-
Isn't there a newer term that the youngins use? What is it? The xenials?
Those are flowers. All right. Well, tell us what the new generation is called, and also tell us if you care about the length in the game. Are you a person who prefers short games, long games, or does it not matter? Or do you need the setting to be just right so that you can get into it? But let us know in the comments below. But that is going to end our show for today. So with the final scores of Chris at 10, Daniel at 11, which should have been 14, Andy at 13, and John is the winner once again at 14 points. John, tell us what's on your mind.
Well, thank you. Let's have more applause. That's nice.
Have you updated your Marvel list? I'm going to go over that again.
No, I'm not going to do that this time. This is board game. This is actually board game related. Chris alluded to this game earlier. We played a game at that conference called Bad Company, which has been ranked 9 out of 10 by a somewhat known dice YouTube channel. And every play I've had of this game outside of with these lunkheads has been very enjoyable. But I do have a problem with this game, and let me tell you about that. And first of all, it was my first copy of this game, came sans the rule book or the reference sheet, which it says it's supposed to have. You would think it was supposed to have a rule book, and sure enough, it was supposed to. And I didn't want to bother my FLGS. I went to the publisher, and they had a process through a third party. I entered the game, what was missing, all that. I hear back 5 days later that I need to go to the publisher. I'm like, well, that's what I just did. And they sent me to you. So supported my FLGS. I finally got in touch with them. They're like, hey, come on in. We'll get you another copy. Not a big deal. So that's what I did. And let me tell you something else. When I support my FLGS, a lot of times it's with found money or whatever. I want to make sure when I have the chance to, I go there, I give them first shot at my money.
Oh, okay.
I dog sat for my niece. Didn't expect her to pay me. She threw me some money. I said, okay, I'll get something the family can play. That'll be fun. So I go down there, and there's games like Cascadia. There's games like Lost Ruins of Arnak. There's all this. And those are in the $40 to $50 range. Then at $55, at $55, we have Bad Company, which is essentially a card game. Okay. It comes with this little board. It comes with this little board. It comes with a bunch of these little boards, which are cool. You put together your little gang, and it's kind of neat. I love the artwork on it. And then it's got some cards and bits. And it has, and this money. Come on, this money. It's just numbers on thin cardboard. That's your money. It does have my least favorite meeples, the little 5-point meeples, but at least it does have meeples. The cards are linen finish, I'll say that. But come on, $55. I know there's inflation, but right next to it is Arnak for $50. And it has a lot more components and a lot cooler stuff than this. So get with it. Apta Games or Aporta Games, whatever it is. That's highway robbery. It's ridiculous. If it wasn't found money, I would have left it on the shelf. But I was like, I know this game is going to get played. It plays up to 6, so I went ahead and took the dive. But that was a joke. Chris, I see your reaction there. Can you believe that? $55 for that game.
My feelings aside for the actual game itself, completely completely aside, that is insane for that game. Even in our modern era, that at most should be like $35.
Yeah, I'm thinking 25 for what you get in it. It
right. I think be a 20, but I'm also an old man and lost in the times of yore. So
it's a small
guys.
box.
I just got an email. I got an email. They don't want to sponsor our show.
Sounds great.
Hashtag will never be a sponsor.
Fantastic. They figured that out by
what is FLGS, please, for those of us that are
I'm sorry. Friendly local game store is what FLGS stands for. I try that. I think Daniel goes to the same one. Chris might go to it. So we have a local game store we all like to support. And when it's something like that, and they have they have a program where you earn points and everything. So basically, it cost me nothing with my $40 that I had and what I had on file for bonus points. It cost me literally nothing out of pocket. But yeah, that's a joke though that it's a 55.
Well, that's what it deserved then.
It's
MSRP.
John, it's cruel. It is cruel and unusual punishment of you to bring that game up, knowing that we will not have our say on that game on this show.
Not right now anyway. Maybe in a future.
Well, we might sprinkle it in because I think a game like that deserves a little bit of some conversation. So, but hey, you know what? This has been a great episode. So let's end it out on some birthday games. So we got Catapult Kingdoms from 2021. It was a Kickstarter game that was supposed to be crossbows and catapults, I think is what it was retheming of.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it could be a movie or a TV show based on this game.
Oh, really?
Well. But yeah, anyways, 2 years old. It's a youngin'.
It actually ended up being called Catapult Feud.
Yes.
Oh, is that what it is?
I own it. I play with
That's
Joey.
what it is.
Fun.
Catapult Feud. Yep.
Ah, sorry. Okay, my bad.
How about it? Has anybody here played Anachrony?
I did. I love it. It's great.
Why don't you talk about it? Because I have no clue what that game is.
Gotcha. It's a worker placement game where you travel back in time to borrow resources from yourself. But what it really is, it's a game about taking out loans. So if you don't pay your loan back before a certain time, negative things are going to be happening. But the theme is you traveled back in time to borrow it from you. So you got to make sure you have it when you.
This could have been Bill and Ted's theme.
Yeah, it's like that
Bill and
theme
Ted's
is
excellent
weird
game.
and wild, but the mechanics sound awesome. I want to play that.
Yeah. No, but it's
Bill
good.
and Ted's excellent board game. Okay.
Yeah.
But that was 2017, so it was 6 years old this month.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then also happy birthday to Star Wars Rebellion. It's now 7 years old, and that does make sense because I actually got excited and started interested in playing this game about a year ago. So I still haven't got to the table, but looking forward to that. So happy birthday, Star Wars Rebellion.
There we go.
Well, thank you to all of our wonderful viewers out there. Remember to tap those like and subscribe buttons. Also, be sure to join our Facebook group for more comments and feedback. You can do that. It's Around the Board. You can send us an email, mail@aroundtheboard.net, or check us out on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else. Everywhere, literally everywhere else.
You look anywhere, we're there.
We're
That's
there. Might be really small, but we're there. So we'll see you next time.
Right behind you.
Around the board.
Around the board.
That was good.
Look at these high quality standees. If these
Yeah,
are miniatures.
That camera is really doing them a lot of help. I can tell you that.